So I welcome Esko Kivisaari, Claudio Senatore, Bogdan Tautan, and Jonas Hirz, who will present on the work done by this working group, and in particular on the AI Act. So Esko.
Okay, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here, especially because our working group has been more or less meeting virtually, and it's nice to be really together and present the paper we were doing. Certainly, well, Claudio, Bogdan, Jonas, they have been instrumental in making the working group. When you think of you, we try to present the ideas, give answers to your questions. When I'm answering, my answers make no sense. Probably the answers of the others, they are good, but you don't understand them. But really, Charles Cowling told yesterday that AI will not replace actuaries. But then on the other hand, an actuary using AI will replace the actuary who is not using AI. And then this results into quite huge needs for education, for understanding how to apply these novel tools. And then certainly our actuarial tradition gives us lots of responsibility, how to use the new tools responsibly. And then we have this working group. One part of what the AAE, Artificial Intelligence Data Science Working Group, has been doing has been to help in education. So we have produced some papers. I think the most important one is the one called "What Should an Actuary Know of AI?" And I said already that when we answer questions, some of them might not be understandable, but if you read the paper, then you will understand the answers also given. And then we will give a few thoughts on the paper, but otherwise we urge you to try to find the time to read the paper. And please do it quickly, because this is a fastly evolving world, so every day the paper will be more and more outdated. But really, looking at the things there, well, we are also doing some things to interact with other stakeholders, and I will say something of that later on. But really now we are talking of the paper, so first thing is some understanding of the key things that AI brings to insurers and actuaries, and I think Jonas will be able to enlighten you with some thoughts in that area. Please, Jonas.
Thank you, Esko. Yeah, a few thoughts on the topic of technology. So up to 2022, AI has been steadily evolving. And as we've seen, Thomas, in your talk, so there are various applications that have steadily improved. And there was a breaking point in 2022, and that was generative AI. And why was this a breaking point? Because suddenly everyone has access to AI. You don't need to know R, Python, whatever. You can just use this service, like ChatGPT, and it's shockingly powerful. Yesterday we've tried a few examples. You know, you take a picture of this room and you ask, okay, what is the probability to catch COVID if one is positive in here? And it gives you a shockingly convincing answer. It's certainly not 100% correct, but such tools without a proper ethical standard, without proper understanding of this methodology, has its risk. And with this revolution kicked off in 2022, what you see is a lot more activity in companies when it comes to AI. So with all my clients, literally everyone is thinking now big about AI. What are ethical aspects? How can I roll out more applications? What does the competition do? And this is certainly increasing the pressure to move on AI. But what does this mean for actuaries? I like to think about it in four ways, and you see it here on the right. So First of all, external risks change. So customer behavior changes, new risks emerge, for example, thinking about cars that have an autopilot, who's responsible in the end if an accident happens. And this may require new coverages. This may change the products, how we have them today. And that's certainly an actuarial field that will get very active in the next years. Secondly, internal risks will change. What do I mean by that? So with the broad adoption of AI, a lot of operational risks will change. If AI hallucinates, if there is bias, if there's some misuse, this can have severe consequences. And also actuaries will and should play a very central role in that respect. Thirdly, when we look at the actuarial work itself, AI can help to increase quality and efficiency in day-to-day work we do. And there are obvious things like automating certain tasks, generating reports automatically, and the ultimate level, and there's a buzzword that's circulating around a bit, it's called actuarial GPT. And the idea of this is that you collect all your data you have, all your reports you have in your company, and you can just ask questions. What happens if interest rates go up? And so on. And some companies are already developing these kinds of tools, and this will definitely change how we do our work. Fourth point is, and this is really accelerating even more what's happening, and that's the regulation that has come up. In particular, the AI Act, which puts ethics and professional use of AI at the forefront of this development. And we thought about which groups do have the combination of technological understanding, data understanding, business understanding, and ethical standards, how we work. And there are just actuaries. So we are well positioned in this development and to shape the future of this development. But so what does this mean in total? I personally believe it's a huge opportunity we have to develop our profession and to take a very central role. And I really liked the CNP case because it's not everywhere the case that actuaries are so centrally engaged in AI ethics, in development of these AI tools, but that's our purpose and our goal to really achieve this in the next years. And yeah, it will not happen through a few clever words and change tomorrow, but it depends on all of us to really step up and take this opportunity.
Thanks, Jonas. Then one area here, well, we heard about actuarial function in CNP having the lead, but then there are tools needed, and actuaries have the responsibility to be able to explain what they are doing, to explain their models. And now I will turn to Claudio, who will tell a little about XAI, which is Explainable Artificial Intelligence. It doesn't mean that XAI of Elon Musk, but Explainable Artificial Intelligence. So could you please, Claudio, tell a bit to us about that?
Thank you, Esko. So yes, Explainable AI, I will not deep dive on the technical aspect, okay? So we had really yesterday we had at least 2 sessions on Explainable AI, so I will not deep dive on it. I will provide more an image of a perspective of the Explainable AI as a tool, as a tool for us as actuaries, a tool and a stimulus for the AI, but in this case AI stands for actuarial inertia, It's true, it's an opportunity AI for us, as actuaries, but we have to be honest with ourselves. So the actuarial profession has a little bit of inertia to the change. And the AI, Explainable AI can represent several tools to change our way of working, to introduce different models, to have different perspective on what we do, So here there are just some examples of how you can use the Explainable AI as a tool. So obviously, machine learning can bring you higher level of granularity, so you would have risk individualization. Obviously, risk individualization is bringing risks, for example, risk pooling, exclusion. but this is a separate, separate question. Explainable AI is bringing interaction and communication opportunities because we can use different advanced reports, let's say different kind of reports in how you work. So as actuaries, we are used to, bar plots, tables, and fill sheets full of these things. With explainable AI, things will change. So it's not possible to create a table for each output of your model, So it's not possible to use the old way of building reports with explainable AI, because the level of granularity is so deep that you can't really bring a table for each outcome of your model. And explainable AI gives you the possibility to produce explanation for each outcome of your model, each outcome, not just one coefficient of your GLM, as we are used today. And you can really also talk to your model. One of the most recent research and also tool that has been developed is basically a large language model that is able to understand your model, the model that you train, and gives you the possibility to talk to your model, So it's a completely different way of approaching and interacting with what you do. We are used to relativity plots, we are used to bar plots, tables, coefficient, and it's somehow a very old way. It's almost 40 years that we do in this way, and this somehow will have to change. And explainable AI is an answer and a tool for that. Obviously, feature importance gives you the possibility to understand. Most of the machine learning models are non-parametric models, so with explainable AI, you can understand in a different way which are the most important features, and so you can explain why you selected one or you excluded another reasons. You can justify outcomes of your models. And finally, fairness and bias. So if you look at the fairness tool that there are in R or in Python, you will quickly notice that most of the fairness definition that you find are for categorical variable. And this should already ring a bell to you, because actuarial models are not really categorical models, but are more regression models. And this comes because actually we have not been working as much as we should have at working, in my opinion, in this arena. So we should introduce more fairness metrics that are actuarially based, And explainable AI can for sure help from this point of view, tracking the variables, but also giving you the possibility to delve and deep dive in the model that you are using. So I don't want to steal other time. Maybe we can have time later for questions. Thank you.
And there is in our paper quite a lot of talk of the different tools, the SAP values and partial dependency tools. So you will learn more from the paper. But learning is so crucial. There are old guys like me who didn't learn anything from data science via studies, and the younger ones know much more. So there are different problems with different age groups or actuaries. But what are really the challenges in education? What should we be doing in this area? Bogdan, you will tell us a little about that.
Yes, thank you, Esko. Thank you, Jonas and Claudio, for your opening remarks. And hello, everyone. So, I will try to add something to the already previously mentioned topics. I think it's clear that given the talks that we had yesterday, that AI is mentioned all over the world in all discussions, and it's part of the agenda of many institutions. So it's undergoing a radical change, especially the actuarial global profession is undergoing a radical change. So that being said, we believe that fields such as computer science, data science, and actuarial science will overlap more and more in professional capacities. Claudio, you mentioned the concept of bias, and whether that being of gender or ethnicity, at ethnicity level. The concept of bias is widely discussed, and it becomes more and more important, especially when applying AI algorithms. From bias, you directly you directly go to the concepts of discrimination, whether that being direct discrimination or indirect discrimination. So those two things, especially the last one, which is more subtle, are very important to tackle when implementing AI systems within your companies or your actuarial work. I would really like to stress out and urge you that when you implement systems or purchase them or outsource them, to put a lot of attention on the data that you're using. By using sensitive information, which may sound counterintuitive or contradictory, you will actually distinguish much better the variables that will lead to indirect discrimination, meaning that you will be able to filter out those variables that relate to protected characteristics in a much better fashion. So don't run away from excluding sensitive information in the first place, but try to model it in a responsible way such that you will have a fair algorithm and discrimination-free algorithm. So that's one of the aspects that I wanted to mention. And based on this topic, we see around the world also that regulators, supervisory bodies are working hard each day to implement whether principle-based governance frameworks or legislation around the world. For example, the OECD recently revised their definitions on the AI systems and put a lot of attention on the international cooperation of all regulatory bodies to align and have a clear view on what AI brings to the market, whether that being insurance or multi-sectoral. Moreover, if you look at the monitoring authority of Singapore, you see that the FIT principles are some that are widely used and very well seen around the world. And it was already mentioned, the AI Act, which is in force, was recently published in the official monitor and will affect us also as actuaries, but also as business and companies. They all pay attention to bias, to fairness, and to how to implement the AI system. So what I really want to stress out is that we as actuaries, we have to deal more and more with the concept of data, like input, throughput or modeling, and reporting. So those three parts, which are already parts of our actuarial models, will become more and more complex. Meaning that we will have to educate ourselves more in dealing with structured data, with alternative data sources, which hopefully will help us reduce the insurance gap that we have currently in the market. It will also help us deal with synthetic data and train algorithm appropriately. If we are not aware of all these concepts, also from an educational but practical point of view, we might lead to less responsible AI systems as being implemented in our environments. And then the technical modeling, of course, which will bring a lot more advancement in predictive modeling, will be important. Think of convolutional or recurrent neural networks, which are very complex compared to a simple pricing model, for example, that we have at this stage. Think of supervised and supervised learning techniques. They all bring different types of data into perspective, whether that being sequential or spatial data, which before we were not really familiar with. So learning programming languages, again, is another aspect that will become relevant in the future, probably. And then just to end up with all this input, throughput, output, and the risks associated with it, reporting will give us, the reporting area will give us the opportunity to have new insights as actuaries, produce more relevant outcomes, and try to be with the help of explainable AI, more responsible and lead to a safeguarding responsible AI in our societies. So if we really stick to the traditional frameworks that are in place at this stage, think of the Solvency II directives and all the governance frameworks that we build at this moment, I think we will have a big disadvantage when implementing AI systems. We saw Thomas and the approach that he has with his company, very insightful. For sure, the traditional frameworks that we have based on only model documentation and validation, which I want to also stress out, validation and not testing, very common in the day-to-day business, will not be enough. The AI complexities will bring also a weight to our IT infrastructures. We actuaries, we will need a different skill fragmentation and collaborate more and more with the IT departments, data scientists and other disciplines. So we really need to ensure that those systems are running properly and they have a stability within our companies. So extending a traditional framework to a more complex and well-suited one for the AI is highly important, and we stress that out in our paper as well. So all in all, there will be an impact on education. Charles mentioned yesterday the impact and the relevancy and the work that is being done in that area. The question is to what extent we actuaries have to develop those skills. But for sure we will have new topics. For example, in Europe, as of 1st of January this year, the CPD guidelines became compulsory for the actuarial associations members of the AAE, and also the Education Committee is developing a CPD guideline on data science courses and how to implement those. All these will be aligned at the international level and European level as well, but really tailoring courses to your specific needs and moving with a fast pace towards a better education, it's becoming more and more relevant. So with that being said, I would like to thank you and pass the microphone, please.
Yes, thanks. And we don't have very much time anymore, but we need to mention also that our activity is now directed to the AI Act. Actually, we have a couple of papers in addition to this, what should an actuary know. We have another one on what it does to insurability, and then some notes on the AI Act, where we really think that what actuaries will bring to the scene is responsibility. So artificial intelligence plus responsibility will be actuarial intelligence. On the AI Act, I would like to say that maybe Thomas was saying that we should fight against that or ignore that. I maybe liked more what we heard from Petra Hilkema yesterday, when she was more or less saying that she tries to show that what exists in Solvency II and other compliance is actually enough to fulfill many of the requirements, and that is what we, the AAE, have been saying to Insurance Europe and to IOPA. Don't fight against AI Act because it is there, but try to move online with that and show that what is there already fulfills the things. Finally, before turning to the questions, already we said we need actuaries applying artificial intelligence and learning the techniques. It is like, I like to compare this to children's tales, fables, fairy tales. How about Snow White and the wicked queen saying, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all?" Does the wicked queen anymore need the mirror? Is it iPhone, iPhone on the wall? Who's the brightest of them all? And about actuaries, maybe we should stop looking at the mirrors and instead look to the outside world and learn to use AI responsibly and show the way to the responsible use of AI within insurance and actuary practice. And now I turn to Christoph, who will advise you on how to make questions.
Thank you, Esko. Thank you, Claudio, Bogdan, and Jonas. So if you have questions, please come here. The microphone is here. And I will maybe start with the first question. We see a lot of younger generation people all want to go into data science, being a data scientist. But in the end, if you look at ChatGPT, the difference between a data scientist and actuary is very limited. The response I got on ChatGPT is about professional ethics. So we have a code of conduct, we have standards, we have CPD. Do you see the data scientist world creating a similar organization as actuaries? Do you see that as a threat, as a possible threat as well?
We have, and I think also on the IAA level, there's been a search for other bodies, but usually I think we are still working with the usual suspects, like in Europe with IOPA, with the DG FISMA, but we are turning our eyes to DG Connect, and we need to engage with new players. But I don't know the organizations, do you?
I don't know exactly about the organization, but maybe I can, would you like to? Yeah, maybe I can react a bit more on the data science as an emerging field, which we see these days. Most of the companies that we see actually employ a lot of data scientists. As a matter of fact, the company I work for has, I think, 2 or 3 times more data scientists than actuaries. And that's mainly because of their skills in programming and implementing algorithms. So we actuaries are in a position, what you mentioned as well, we have the business sense, and we are fortunate to be in a position where we understand everything from business to input to output. So I'm not sure if the data scientists will take over our jobs. What is really relevant is to look to what extent and until when programming and implementing algorithms by ourselves will become relevant. Now it is relevant because data scientists might have more skills in that area, but maybe in 10 years with generative AI and prompting and code generating, it could be that it will be shifted backwards towards us actuaries. So we will use more generative AI to generate code, but we will need to understand it and know and read it well. So it might be a shift. At this moment, you see that as being emerging, but it might shift in the future.
I will adjust an observation. So I think that a good starting point for us in this phase, as I said before, would be to be really honest with ourselves. So in my opinion, if you look at the syllabus of the data science master degree or an actuarial science master degree today, it's true that at the beginning the difference between an actuary and data scientist is small. But as you have, according to the syllabus that we have today, the more you go far from the start of your study, and you go toward the end, you start working as an actuary or data scientist, the difference between these two professionals, in my opinion, becomes bigger. So there are actuaries that in their profession don't see a statistical model for years, no, because you do different stuff, you know. So it really depends. In my opinion, it will be an effort from the actuarial side to cope the differences with the data scientists. Without this effort, differences will become more and more bigger with time. But I don't know, it's obviously a personal opinion.
So thank you for giving those insights in so many aspects. Jonas talked about the different fields. He spoke about the risk from outside. Then Bogdan spoke a lot on regulatory and supervision. And I put my question, the two together. Let's imagine Lehman Brothers happens December 2024. Can you imagine that there is DG FISMA prompting, please suggest some regulation that avoids such an event again? And can you imagine Petra Jelkamer prompting, give me some suggestions for supervisory tools that I should use to monitor companies? So do you think we will be facing regulators and supervisors that are artificial intelligent?
Maybe I start. That's a good question. And extrapolating from my experience where generative AI is used today, they will certainly use it. And regulators will certainly use it as a starting point to get ideas, to understand certain outliers in data and so on. And it's pretty powerful to get an 80% answer to a lot of questions. Going the last 20%, the systems are not yet there, and there you really need human intelligence for now. But I'm quite convinced that all bodies are thinking about how to embed those, those machines in their daily work. And sometimes they bring something good, sometimes it doesn't really make sense, but it really takes a lot of intelligence to understand what's right and what's wrong. But Bogdan.
Maybe really one thing to understand also is that what happens within EU institutions, with European institutions in the area of AI, it is very much horizontal thinking, not at all specific to insurance, not at all specific to finance, but horizontal thinking applying to, equally to all sectors within all businesses in the EU. And I think when you mentioned DG FISMA and IOPA, they are, as well as we are, on a learning curve to how to use AI.
Let's move to the next question, maybe.
Okay, Daniel Obrzut, PwC Italy. So a little bit more broad question about what do you think about the main problem that the artificial intelligence, we found that the accused against the artificial intelligence, like data protection, privacy violation, the problem with the ethics. How do you think we should face it as actuarials? What we should do with that? So, do you have any suggestion?
There are already directives, laws, acts that are giving us precise indication, you know. So obviously now we have the AI Act, but the AI Act at the moment is nothing else than work in progress, you know. So many things are missing. So the implementing acts, the delegated acts will provide us definitions, disclosure standards, and all this kind of stuff that will for sure help us in what to do and how to do. And everyone is always, you know, talking about the AI Act, but in my opinion, we should give a look to also other two important directives that will shape somehow our work. That is the Product Liability Directive and the Artificial Intelligence Liability Directive, because they will have direct impact on our work, on what we can do and how we should do things, you know, which are the risks of defectiveness or the risk of at fault, you know, what a claimant will have to do toward the producer or someone that deploys machine learning models. So also these two directives should be under our radar and will help us in how to shape our documents, reports, models. I don't know if you want to add.
Sorry, if I can only ask, because we are concentrating mostly on the directive that we are speaking about the European Union, but we should think about the problems that it's more broad, like whole the world that we are thinking, not only because the data that will be used and it will be probably it will be easy to be stolen, not only by the European countries but also a little bit more abroad.
Yeah, maybe I can give a small comment on that. I think it's very relevant what you're mentioning, and you see that many governing bodies around the world are engaging together. I had yesterday the chance to be in a stakeholder engagement session at an international level with IAIS, IOPAS, and so on. So there were more than 40 regulatory bodies, and from this 2 hours that we had the call, it was obvious, I think more than 1 hour, the discussion was pointed towards data. And it seems like there is a consensus in how they try to shape or reshape the regulatory environments into reporting standards that might ask players in the market to disclose more and more the data they are using at a more granular level. So I think that's a good positive development, but we have the Data Act in Europe, the Data Governance Act, the GDPR and so on. So there will be overlap, but we have to... Andorra. So there are many directives in Europe, but also internationally there is a lot of collaboration that will take place, and I'm sure we'll head the right way.
Thank you very much.
So please join me in thanking the working group for the great work and the great presentation.